It's Eden's fault. A pleasant good afternoon. It's Monday, the 14th day of July in the year 2025. My name is Christopher Jones, welcoming you to another APNU elections campaign update. And of course, today I'm joined with a candidate and vice chairman of the PNCR, Mr. Vince Roy Jordan. No stranger to all of us. Vince Roy served as the Shadow Minister of Agriculture while as a member of Parliament, and he is also the PNCR Regional Chairman for the West Coast Berbice region. Vince Roy, a pleasant good afternoon. Welcome to APNU Elections Campaign Update.
Good afternoon to you, Chris, and thank you for having me here today, and good afternoon to your listening and viewing audience.
Excellent. All right, so we know for certain that you just off the road with the contingent, and you look fresh on television. I mean, nice powdered wash off or whatever. But tell me about the momentum and the excitement that you saw today out there before we get into the program proper.
Well, Chris, again, I'll say it was electrifying.
Yeah.
It was an awesome day.
Yeah.
I believe that the momentum that was built from the launch, taking us today into nominations day, it was one that just keeps rising and rising and rising. I believe young people are energized. I saw even the senior folks, some with their sticks, and they were just out there ensuring that their presence was felt and knowing that they were at the Umanayana for the nominations, and to ensure that that list that we're taking in, the winning list, or that we took in, that they were part of it. And so I saw scores of Guyanese from all across the Georgetown, the East Coast, from Region 5 where I'm from, and many other regions as Linden, and they were there just to ensure that the list that was submitted and the support was given to the APN.
Yeah, indeed, I share your views in terms of the crowd and the momentum, and of course, but for some reason or the other, like we saw during the rally, it appears that the PPP has a fixation on the APNU, and you find it very strange because all the time you have Jagdi out there pomposetting himself about the landslide victory the PPP is going to have, or whatever the case be. So what is the issue that the PPP continues to focus on the APNU? Now, today, while we were out there heading to the Umanayana, we received word that those persons who were viewing the procession via NCN, that they were showing the coverage from at the back of the crowd. And of course, we have to bring this to the people's attention that NCN instructed those persons, those media operative, those reporters, those journalists from on NCN to focus at the back of the contingent of the APNU. Now, we talk about professionalism, we talk about professional journalism and all of this, and you allow people who are quote-unquote journalists to allow to cover these events, and you expect them to do a fair job.
Right.
But then yesterday as well, we saw at the PPP rally, you had NCN journalists / reporters / editors who are candidates of the PPP, and they're controlling that machinery. So what do we expect better?
Look, Chris, it is well known that the People's Progressive Party Civic, this is embedded in them.
Yeah.
They always play the distraction politics.
Yeah.
So they distract you from what the reality is. We don't need to show Guyanese what the real crowd is. We don't need to tell Guyanese. They have seen it for themselves.
Correct.
Most of them have been there and they know what it is. The People's Progressive Party Civic, the General Secretary, for like about 2 months ago, he said that they will have a landslide victory. When they saw the APNU start to gain momentum and people start to gravitate to the APNU, of which they were always there, but they were just waiting for the right time.
Correct.
Jagdio started slowly from speaking about a landslide victory to not speaking about the victory at all.
Correct.
And so if you check his press conferences for the past 4 weeks or so, he hasn't been saying anything about landslide, more so a victory.
The slide gone.
The slide gone from the victory, and there's not any victory he's talking about. The list that they have, a number of professionals, a number of public servants, I understand, would be on that list, or rather are on the list. But the PPP, just when we were on the road today, public servants approached me and they said to me, the persons who are leaving the Attorney General's chambers and that Ministry of Legal Affairs dressed in their PPP jerseys and going to the parade at nominations day
And then head back.
then head back to work.
Correct.
But those who are perceived to be supporters of the coalition are disallowed from supporting or going to support them.
Or leaving the
of course,
office, yeah.
if they can't, unfortunately, they leave, they'll be dismissed.
Correct.
That is what is happening across the country.
Yeah.
I sent a message just the other night when I was on Mark Wayne's program, and I said that we are taking note of those REOs, those permanent secretaries, and those heads of departments who are victimizing our supporters, who are telling the public servants that they cannot be seen or heard anywhere near to coalition members.
Yeah.
And once we have those information, we will deal with them, because on the PPP stage, we had permanent secretaries and deputy permanent secretaries.
Correct.
At the rally, we had senior members of the education department, education officers at that rally. And so why then must public servants who support the coalition not be allowed to join? And so I want to say to public servants, seeing that we're on that, just do what you have to do. Tarry until the 1st of September. Continue to hold the line, vote for us, and then we'll get rid of the People's Progressive Party.
Correct. You know, you rightfully mentioned in terms of what is happening in those various ministries and government agencies. Now, I'm sending a footage to the operators and ask them to pull that up once they get it. And I want now to focus on the use of state machinery, state resources, and so forth. Yesterday, we saw several ministries, buses, the forerunners being used to transport PPP activists to and from the rally. You had the Ministry of Culture, Youth and Sport. We saw vehicles from Ministry of Public Works. We saw ministry out of the Ministry of Home Affairs. We saw vehicles from the Ministry of Housing. We saw vehicles from the Ministry of Labor. We saw vehicles from the Ministry of Human Services, using those state resources. I wanted to touch on that a bit. And when the operator get that footage out from a specific ministry, we're going to hear that as well.
Look, Chris, it has long been established since the local government elections in 2023 that the PPP relies heavily on state resources to fund and to manage their campaigns.
Correct.
I saw in region number 5 the MMA vehicle dressing the entire region with flags. The MMA staff complained to me, and they said that they are forced to go and put up the flags, and they're forced to use the very ministry vehicle and also fuel from the ministry.
Correct.
This is no different. We saw in 2015, just before we took government, they were using the ambulance in Region 6 to do political war. Again, it is being replayed. In Region 6, just the other day, they had a barbecue at Main Street, the PPP office. They had a number of vehicles coming from Georgetown, taking friends, families, and favorites of the PPP to that barbecue. And they use state resources. They use the vehicles from the ministries, and that is what transported them. And we see that across many other agencies. The drivers are complaining that they're being forced to take them. They take them, they leave, and then they tell them to come back at a specific time.
Correct.
Drivers are told that they're forced to take heads to Freedom House, to sit and wait until 1 and 2 in the morning when they're finished with meetings, and then to pick them up. Mind you, some of the persons that they're taking are not persons who are deserving of a driver, but they have to take them. And so this is the PPP that we know. And they come back to tell us that, oh, they would have the People's Progressive Party, Civic, is funding the entire campaign. No way. They're using resources from the state, and we know that.
Friday gone, either Friday or Saturday gone, they had an event at the Princess Ramada Hotel. And the report that we got from the Ghana Defense Force, particularly some young soldiers who just entered the system and so forth, that their senior officers instruct them that they must appear at the Princess Ramada Hotel without any specific instruction. And when they got there, whatever jersey shirt they had on, they had to take those off and put on the PPP paraphernalia. All of this, and this is happening, as we mentioned, not only the utilization of state resources in the various ministries and government agencies, but this has now found grip in the Guyana Police Force as well as the Guyana Defense Force. We recall, I think about a year ago, there was an event being had at the stadium in which members of the Guyana Fire Service, a whole brigade of the young fire officers, were taken to the stadium, and then they were given T-shirts to put on. And of course, they can't object because their superiors will either discipline them and so forth. But this happened just last Friday at Princess Ramada Hotel at a PPP's function. The superior officers of the Guyana Defense Force directed these young soldiers to turn up at Princess Ramada Hotel, to turn up the X person. And when they got there, they were given PPP paraphernalia to put on and be part of the gathering. Now, we want to say this to the folks out there that, but okay, so the operator is going to bring us first the footage, and then we're going to go into that. So this was footage that was sent to us just yesterday, and this is part of what transpired outside of the Ministry of Home Affairs. The use of a Ministry of Home Affairs vehicle transported persons. They parked outside of the ministry, waited out a person, and then they drove over to Kitty. And then yesterday, while we had our contingent that were outside of the Umaniyana, there was a vehicle loaded with PPP activists with the T-shirts on in a vehicle of the Ministry of Public Works. And they drove right past us there at Umaniyana and went at the back there where the ministry has its office, and they stopped there. The persons came out and so forth. Use of state resources for this campaign. Now, this is a party that puts out there, they have these massive barbecues and all of this, but the reality is that they're using state resources to fuel the campaign.
Right. And you know, it is the same when it comes to the 10-day workers. I mean, Jack, you try to dispute it. But
there we go. Right. So this is yesterday. This is outside of the Ministry of Home Affairs. That forerunner right there, that was the forerunner that all of these folks were in. And it is a Ministry of Home Affairs vehicle. And they stopped there. They did their selfies and whatnot. Then they went back into the vehicle. The other persons or their comrades came and joined them. And they went over to Kitty. Right across the spectrum, as I mentioned to you before, the Ministry of Home Affairs, the Ministry of Public Works, the Ministry of Housing, the Ministry of Human Services, the Ministry of Labor, all of those vehicles were seen transporting PPP activists yesterday to and from the rally that they had in Kitty. Now, this is a party that talks how they have tremendous support out there and the funding and the resources, but yet still the use of state resources continues to happen by the People's Progressive Party.
Right. And Chris, like I was just saying, apart from the abuse of state resources, 10-day workers are forced to go to these events. And with the coalition speaking up and speaking out about it, the workers are now aware that it is their right not to attend. If they want to, they can. And so because the 10-day workers are now refusing to attend the PPP rallies and functions, they have now resorted to paying persons within the communities. I can tell you this is a fact in Region 5, that persons were paid as much as $30,000 a head to come to the PPP's rally yesterday in Kitty. And I am very, very clear that it is not the monies from the PPP or from the party that is funding or being spent to pay those persons to come. It is government money that is being used to fund that activity. And because what we must note, the base of the PPP is no longer coming out to support them.
That's right.
So they have now moved, they have shifted to the Afro-Guyanese, what people term, as people normally say, the coalition base, and they are not getting them to come, so they pay them to come.
Correct.
And while you see, somebody said it was a tsunami, you know, a red wave and whatnot, but a number of those persons, a large percentage of the gathering, they were paid. And if you notice, that is why when the time reached for some of them to leave, regardless of who was speaking, they left. Because they were only paid to go. And then they were paid to go up to a certain time. So the agreement was that at 6:30, I got to go back. And so they left. And so Guyanese, don't be fooled. These crowds that you're seeing with the PP, they're paid. They're not people who want
genuinely
to be there,
support the PPP.
When you see people today at our nominations parade and at the launch, you saw people who were prepared to be there, people who were happy, people who are smiling because they're a part of the camp that they want to be a part of, and so there were nobody who were forced to go there.
We get all of these reports. Like for example, you mentioned the 10-day workers. They're the CSOs in the hinterland regions, and of course those young people that were given contracts, small contracts to do roads or whatever the case be, and so forth. They too were instructed that if you want to keep your contract, if you want to get another contract, all of your workers have to be at the rallies. And I mean, I saw some of these guys that I know in my area, West from Ville parts or whatever the case be. And I see one of them with a t-shirt. I said, what are you doing with the t-shirt? And he said, no, we gotta go down, we gotta go to Mark. The guy literally ran over to the car and said, Mark, Chris, you know what guy now, buddy? We just gotta go to And on this note, I want to say to all of those folks out there, the CSOs, the 10-day workers, the members of the discipline forces, the members of the public, the youngsters who get in the contract, we know because you told us what is happening, that you are instructed, you are mandated, that if you want to keep your job in the public service, you got to attend. If you want to keep getting the 10-day money, you got to attend. If you're a CSO, you want to keep, you got to attend. And the ones who got in the contract, my brethren, them who got road contract, them $15 million and then $20 million contract, who said to me, Chris, we got to go. We got to carry out the workers. The people torn up by them, and they bring the bags of t-shirts. So if you have a crew of about 10 or whatever, 10 t-shirts, and not only that you have to wear and come at these functions, but the head. So example, if you, Vince Wright Jordan, is the contractor, you, Vince Wright Jordan, has to turn up. And then the senior staff in the ministry, if your contract is with public works or housing, there is a certain individual that you have to report to and say present. You understand me? If that doesn't happen, the contracts are either terminated or that's the end of the contract. So for those folks, listen, we hear you. We know what is happening. Listen, on elections day, on September 1, all that is required is you with your simple vote. According to the late Deborah Backer, all you have to do when you go into that polling station is to place a small, sexy X right next to the APNU. And when you walk out, you will look for the PPP man who you got to report to, or woman or whatever. Say, Apongi, we got this, my buddy. We got this. You understand me? Because listen, the level of disrespect that is being meted out to the average Guyanese, whether it's a public servant, whether it's a policeman, whether it's a contractor, it is disrespectful. It is immoral that you as a Guyanese, you have a right? It is not a privilege. You have a right to get one contract, two contracts, 10 contracts. Anyone you want.
Once you do bid and you go to the right procedure.
If you're a public servant, you have a right. It's not a privilege to support whatever political party you want to support. You understand me? And that is why on September 1, that right, not a privilege, that right is on the ballot. And when you go out to vote, the APNU will continue to give you that right, as demonstrated when we were in office.
That's right.
And we keep saying to people, a lot of the public servants right now serve under the PPP before 2015 and serve under the APNU during 2015-2020, because not one single person was terminated. Not one person had to leave the job because they are a PPP activist. You know, to this day, former President Granger and his ministers continue to get cussed out. It may be rightfully so, it may be wrongfully so. I think it's wrongfully so, because as I mentioned, it is not a privilege that people could vote for a particular party or support a particular party and still work as a public servant. It is a right. It is a democratic right. And a lot of people to this day continue to cuss out the David Granger administration that y'all allow these people to stay there, y'all allow people to get a contract and so forth, because that is the type of administration that we are. Because in a society like ours, every single Guyanese have a right.
And look, Chris, you're correct. I want to touch on the contractors. Just a few days ago, I spoke with a young man. The young man said to me, he's so frustrated because he got the 2 contracts, but at the end of it, when he finished giving the money for the campaign, when he finished paying the person that helped him to get the contract, and when he finished paying the workers, he left with $0.00.
Correct.
He is now in a debt that he got to go and find the money to pay GRA because he got to go back for his compliance. Now, this is what Guyanese and our young people got to understand. What sense does it make that you have a contract for $10, $15 million, $5, whatever it might be, you got to pay the person to get the contract, you got to pay for this campaign, and then when you pay your workers, you're left with nothing, just to be named a contractor. It is nonsense. Further to that, the young man said to me, he said, he was told that he must appear on the stage and say at least a few words. So he said to me, he's going to turn up to the meeting and he's going to see what they say. You better believe he sent me a video. He's saying, brother, I just there on the stage and I'm just saying these things, but I ain't with. I said, but you should not allow people to force you into doing this. And that is a level because what? He has not yet collected his final payment. Here it is. Correct. And so the final payment where we got on the few contracts, if he doesn't comply, he would not get that.
Correct.
And so when Guyanese look at this and you understand that these very people that you see running around talking about they're getting contract, they're under tremendous pressure. And the pressure that is brought to bear on them is brought to bear by the People's Progressive Party, Civic, the very people that giving them the contract. And so I say to our young contractors, I say to our brothers and our sisters, our friends and those in community and society, you have a time to change all of this. You knew under the coalition, we had a policy that we will have small, medium, and large scale contractors. And it was also like, just as now, you're right to have a contract once you went through the correct procedure. And you did receive. Of course, there are many more contracts now because of the boom in infrastructure and the development in the economy based on the revenues that are available to the government. But once the coalition takes office and we can then also utilize those resources coming from the oil and gas sector, we will be able to channel that to you. And so I say to you, the pressure will soon end. You will get the remainder, the balance of your contract, those retentions that are remaining, that ministers have on their desk and engineers have on their desk that they're not signing off because people are not turning up to rallies. We hear you, we know you, and we see you. And we say to our young contractors, and I want to go far as saying, I'm saying to my black brothers, don't let them intimidate you, because that is another thing they're using and they're holding it against you. You will have your retention. Don't go to the rallies, don't go to the meetings, your retentions will be paid to you.
Correct. And even we saw recently with the flagging, with various flags going up and so forth, and it is some of the very contractors who they owe payments to and want another contract to tell them,
they got to put up the flag.
They got to put up a flag, and everybody is given a portion.
It's like a particular area.
You walk east and west, right? You walk. So when I go into everybody you doing up there, hey, you walk like that, Josie. We do we think.
It's ridiculous.
You know? That's how they. But listen, it is beyond wickedness. It is beyond wickedness. But as we said before, we hear you. Hold strain. Do what you gotta do. On elections day, is you, one, and God.
That's right.
Or the Almighty in the ballot box.
That's right.
And all you gotta do when you go, you put that nice X next to the APNU, and when you go out, you look for the person who handling you. Can their handlers. And he said, "Yeah, buddy, we got this. We got this." You understand? We know where your heart lies. We will restore dignity to people across this country because.
And I want to interject just before you come off that point. Guyanese must know also, especially our young people, when you go into the ballot, into the booth rather, and you're going to place your ballot, you don't have to take any photographs to send to anyone.
Correct.
And let's say perhaps you just have to because of whatever is hanging over your head. you need to know that when you go in there, you have your pencil to mark, because they did this, and I'm going to tell you, I can speak it publicly, in number 5 village on the west coast of Bobbies. They paid the young men in the local government elections $25,000 to go in, to vote, and to come out back, show them the photograph that they just voted. And I'm telling you, the young men, one smart one in the group said, he get eraser. And the eraser passed along like a relay.
Right.
You know, your baton passed the baton. So as they went in, I am saying to you guys, them boys went and marked the X light and nice by the PPP. And then they take the picture. They erase from the PPP and they put it in the right place, but you can't spoil the ballot. But I'm just telling you what was done.
Yeah.
And then when they came out, I showed them, and the $25,000, they move along. Yeah. But the point I'm making here is that some of you might be under duress because of what the People's Progressive Party is doing. You have millions of dollars outside, you have assets and all these things, and they say to you, you must, if it comes to you, walk with the eraser in your pocket, walk with your eraser. Country style leaders do it. The boys, because they're forceful. This is the level the PPP is going to. And so we will expose them at every area. You don't have to vote for them.
Correct.
You have options.
There is a major crack in that in that red wall. There is a major crack. And Jagdeo have been trying for months to try to seal that crack. And it continues to open. And we've seen it right now, the desperation of the PPP, that contractors, 10-day workers, CSOs, public servants, members of the Guyana Police Force, members of the Guyana Defense Force, and members of the Guyana Fire Service are mandated and instructed by their superiors that they have to turn up at certain PPP event, put on a jersey. We hear you. We know what is happening. We say to you, hold strain, hold the line. It's just a couple more days. If they tell you for parade and you want to secure your job, because we know it's a bread and butter issue. Because the one thing important, the guys say to you, Chris, listen, this is how I got to feed my family. I got bills to pay. You understand me? We hear you. Play the game, play the game, play the game. Brethren, sisters, play the game. Take the money, take the contract, collect 10, 15 jerseys, play the game. On elections day, the opportunity presents itself before you. Because when you vote, it's not only the political party that you're voting for yourself, your dignity, your self-respect, and of course, that of your children and the generations to come. Because if you allow an administration like this to continue in office, think about what your sons and daughters will have to go through. They will have to subject themselves, irrespective of their qualification or whatever they will have to subject themselves to a political movement that will use them like yo-yos and strings. That if this political movement wants to show up a crowd in this area, they say to your son or your daughter, look, put this on and go and stand up there. And if you don't go, I'm going to knock you off. Or if you don't go, I'm going to take away your contract. Or if you don't go, I'm going to take away your scholarship. That's what you're voting against.
That's right.
And that's why when you go in on that election day, when you vote, you're voting for Aubrey, you're voting for Jordan. You voted to bring back self-respect, dignity to yourself, and protect the future generation that is yours, your son, your daughter, your grandchild. That is what you're voting for. Because you imagine, we talk about these contracts being awarded and what these contractors have to do to keep their contracts and to get more. But then you ask yourself the same question, but how is it only a certain section of the Guyanese populace are getting contracts which talk about a 15 million, a 12 million, a 20 million? Why you don't see them like the ones that you see who are getting contract for 180 million, 300 and something 500 million, and going up and still incomplete. And then at the same time, when you look to see who the PPP handlers are instructing to go out there with their workers, to put up flags, to come at rallies and so forth, is only a certain type. But the ones who the PPP given the 200, 300, 400
like
million
the
dollar
critics.
contract, they don't have to go there. All they have to do is roll up with their Range Rovers and so forth, looking clean and crisp, and they roll it with the family. Meanwhile, the young contractor who happy that he get a $50 million contract, but the PPP might tell you, hey, buy, if you want more contract, you better know what you better do. Get all them, buys them up, put that there, put on these jerseys and come. And you need the hats and bacon there for your $50 million. And then you got to pay out all the money you just mentioned.
Right.
And end up with nothing.
So
ask yourself that.
Even in that level of corruption and discrimination,
all of that,
there is classism, Chris,
all of that
among the very people that they're saying they're helping.
That's right.
You see classism
Exactly.
because you got the ones that are elites,
that's right,
and you got the ones that they consider to be those who got to do the work.
They don't put up flags.
I want to get this point.
They don't clean the gutter.
No, I want to get this point over to Guyanese also, and this is not only for those who are working in those mining industries and so on in the interior, but this is for families. I want us to understand it is your democratic right to vote.
That's right.
And it is the right of you and the responsibility of your worker or your employer to ensure that you come home to vote. And we have been receiving reports, and I'll go far as to name Aurora Gold Mining Company, they call it AGM, in region number 7. It is reported, it is alleged that they have started to discriminate against persons who want to vote. That's the first thing I want to say. And they want to deprive persons from coming out to vote on elections day. I want to say to those persons in the interior location, in these mining companies, and whether it be offshore and all, get the message to us. Let us know the entities or the organizations that you're working with, and we will take the necessary steps. We will expose them. We will get to the human resource managers and those in charge, because it is your democratic right to be home and to vote on election day. And I just want to jump ahead because, you know, when it comes to voting, I just get a certain level of adrenaline is pumped through your body, Chris. And I want Guyanese to understand that when you vote in come September, the first, apart from these contracts and all these discrimination, victimization, you got to remember that on the ballot is Adriana Young.
Oh, yes.
You got to remember on the ballot is Isaiah and Joel Henry. You got to remember on the ballot is Quindon Bacchus. You got to remember on the ballot is Harry Singh. You got to remember on the ballot is Young Fortuné from Linden. You got to remember on the ballot that what's his name from region number 2. They're all on the ballot. And when you make that decision, or in Boston, you have to make it wisely.
The Linden Martyrs.
Because we cannot be putting back a government that we saw did exactly what they're doing prior to 2020 and 2015 rather, and you putting them back again to continue to do nonsense. You have to be prepared to live in hell. And so I say to Guyanese, apart from just the contracts and the discrimination and the corruption of the People's Progressive Party Civic, we have to remember that on the ballot is injustice. On the ballot is the unfair treatment of the People's Progressive Party Civic. And what we must do on the 1st of September is get rid of them. And by doing that is simply voting for the coalition. And I dare say to you, only 2 parties from the government permit me to say that in Guyana, and it's the People's Progressive Party Civic or the APNU coalition.
That's right.
And this time in September, on September 4th, it must be the coalition, APNU, that forms the government. And the responsibility is yours, Guyanese, to ensure that you do the right thing. Think about your sons. Think about your daughters. Think about your family. Think about safety on the road. Think about equality and equity. Think about justice. Because if we can look Adriana's family in the face and we can recall on that dreadful day when I could remember when I saw the body, I screamed, Chris, mercy indeed. I screamed because I could not understand, because having experienced the Henry boys, having come from that, having known that I went through this, a family member, you know, having had the feeling, and then just a few days after the Henry Boys, there was Harry Singh, having experienced that in my region, in my family. Because Isaiah is my blood relative. Then to see Adriana that morning, Chris, I couldn't control it because this it was the worst I think we could have gone to. And so I say to Guyanese, don't make the mistake. Remember, Jagdeo would have already under his presidency killed hundreds of our young black men. And we cannot make that mistake again.
But you come back to not only that, you spoke about Adriana Young and when the body was recovered or discovered. But let's remind the viewers about the head of state. The head of state, one Irfan Ali, who himself is a daddy. You understand me? While Adriana's parents and family continues to cry for justice, and you had people who took to the streets calling for justice, who were arrested for terrorism, and right now are still locked up, still on remand, still on remand. And then Irfan Ali wanted to do a political show, turn up and promise the family and committed to them, we will do everything, no stone will be left unturned. And after 2 morning, remember Irfan Ali words, I am done with that. So as far as he concerned, I bury him and move on. But it was the same Irfan Ali during the period of the Henry Boys. I remind people, when the people of Region 5 West Coast Berbice took protest action on the street, Irfan Ali addressed this nation. And Irfan Ali said to the people, what is the justification for blocking streets? What is the justification for burning tires? And what is the justification for raping women? People forget that third one. The media had asked Irfan Ali to produce the evidence of women being raped.
I can recall that.
I want to juxtapose people's memory because this, I always say, the PPP, once you are a leader, they try to give you one of 3 labels. You are a rapist, you are a murderer, or you're a thief. And I remember when they started with former President Granger, when Jagdeo was at Babu Jan, and Jagdeo started to make his whistle songs to people and saying that if Granger become president, the soldier man them, and who are the soldier men? The soldier men them go kick down your door
and rape your
daughter. Jagdeo, you understand me? That dog whistle he was blowing since then. And then juxtapose them to when Irfan Ali became president. And then the people in Region 5 had a protest demonstration for justice for the Henry Boys. Irfan Ali, and he or Jagdeo or any one of them in PPP could try to deny it. Irfan Ali, addressing this nation, amongst other things, was asking what is the justification for raping women. You understand me? The media had asked Irfan Ali since then to show us the evidence of women being raped in West Coast Berbice. And to this day, he can't produce it. But again, it was the whistle being blown by Irfan Ali. And that's why we say to people in West Coast Berbice, don't forget that this is the president, a man who referred to you because you took protest action, calling you a rapist because you're a young man. And particularly you're a young Afro-Guyanese. And they continue to do it. Now, when election time come around, all of us, now we are one family. And ring the bell and jump on stage and so forth, and put you in paraphernalia. If people notice, all of these contracts, the sudden $50 million contract for do a little strip of road here and them thing, all them things started a year and a half ago, you know. A year and a half ago. It didn't start 5 years ago, but when the PPP did the polls that they continue to do, and the polls show them since 2 years ago that they're slipping, they're sliding. They came up with a formula that this is how we will gotta go about to pull these people back in. There, as you mentioned, their support base is no longer there. So therefore, the PPP now is looking for non-national support base, and that's why they have so many problems with the one-time friend Azzedine, because in the Amerindian community where the PPP normally would try for They'll not try. They'll do everything the Lords, like the other day when they had the two-show conference, they did the Lords, outboard engine, boat, cup, bicycle, spoon, bicycle, socks, half slip, brassiere, everything. Anything they want, they get to pull those folks back. But they realize that people say, enough is enough, and the people moving away. So people realize that they're losing the base. All right, let me turn in these East Rhineveld, West Rhineveld, South Georgetown. Particularly South Georgetown is the biggest target right now. South Georgetown. Everybody get a contract. They're doing like Oprah Winfrey. You get a contract, you get a contract, you get a contract. Yes. Because it is a show. It is a show. Just a show. They have this parade of these young men. And then again, oh my God, folks, if you see NCN, DPI coming around you, NCN, DPI Chronicle, anytime a reporter come to you and they say they're from DPI, NCN Chronicle, tell them, no comment. No comment. Because here what the people is do. When these youngsters sign these contracts and they're walking out, NCN or DPI, but you are appreciative of this contract, right?
The structure, the question.
Boom.
Yeah.
When they go back into NCN, they cut the part out when the reporter asks, and just play the part where you respond, yes, I am very appreciative of this contract and them thing, and throw you out there. It's all a game. This whole thing is theater at its best with NCN. DPI and the PPP. It's theater. It's to create an illusion. Like the rally yesterday. I'll say to you folks, do this. I did it. I mean, when I put it out there, then you can say, oh, I manufacture something. Take from newsroom any of the image of the PPP rally. Anyone, you choose from newsroom. Don't take it from Sherrod Duncan. Don't take it from Chris Jones. Take it from newsroom. If you got Chat GPT on your phone, put that photo there in Chat GPT and ask number of people. Chat GPT give you a whole lineup, a whole bunch of words that tell you about the width of the street, the length of the road, the indents, how many people had umbrellas, and then Chat GPT ended it by saying approximately 5,000 to 7,000 people.
Wow.
When we had our rally on the Square of the Revolution, note it's a square of a revolution. Yes. And we had the same image from newsroom, because what they did during our rally, our drones were restricted from flying. Sherrod Duncan drone went up and come right away. It said restricted area, office of the president. Our public relation officer here, Philip Drayton, his drone went up, and he is a licensed by the Civil Aviation Authority to fly drones. When his drone went up, his drone come down back, restricted area, office of the president. Newsroom drone went up. Hi, all the way up, and then take all the shots. We took newsroom footage, upload it to the same Chat GPT, and ask them number of people. Chat GPT reported about 5,000 to 7,000 people.
Yes. Same
number. The difference is, comrade, is a square.
And a strip.
And a strip. And a strip. You using a strip of road. A strip of road is approximately 12 feet wide. 12 feet wide. You got gutter on one side, gutter on one side. And you put people there, you got to stretch all the way up. So they're going to look enough. They're going to look enough.
Optics.
And it's optics. Optics. You think it's by accident PPP hours is going kitty? And here what happened? Because we were on the square of the revolution, an actual square. PPP rally throughout there at the Kitty Market Square. No, I can't use language here, but what square?
What square?
What square?
There's no square.
You understand me? It is just a name. Kitty Market doesn't have a square.
Right.
Kitty Market has a street.
It's a strip.
Yeah, it's a strip. But they got to make sure it comes just like we all. APNU on the square of the revolution, PP on the market square. What market square? And then the thing is that if you look where the actual meeting was, the market is yonder, back the side, next to the police station. Yes. And rally was that way on the strip of the street. And if you condense people into a space like that, it will look exactly how it looked. It is a cloak and dagger. I've been in public relations for a good period. That I recall some years ago when I was the public relations officer attached to then leader of the opposition, Robert Corbyn. The manner in which I took photographs and videos and posted them, it was so blatant, it was so clear that it made the link show. It made the link show. So while I was there at the link show, and somebody who was impersonating me, and somebody impersonating Robert Corbyn, and then Robert Corbyn in the scene ran over to the person named Chris, and Robert said, Chris, he happened. You see the shot here? And why you make the shallow, and so forth.
Right.
So it is an art. And it's not by accident that the PPP hosts the rally in Kitty on this strip.
Optics again.
There is another place that they do a rally, I think is
on the East Coast.
Is it the East Coast? What is your name? I think it's B. Oh, Marcy. I can't remember the name of the place.
Monrepo.
No, not Monrepo. Not Monrepo. Yeah, but I remember it. So this other space that they do the rally. It is another strip. It's a trench on one side, a trench on the other side, and the strip in the middle. So obviously you gotta condense people in between that they will stretch out. You understand me? It is so many things that are attached to that. But I say all of that to say, them optics and picture is not elections. Election is voted on the day. And that's why we started off by saying to those public servants, to those police, soldiers, to those youngsters with the contract, we know what's happening. We know they're telling you put this on the CSOs. We know they're telling you put on the jersey, torp at the rally, or else you can't get no money. We know what happened with the 10-day workers. We know. All we're saying to you that your dignity, your self-respect is on the ballot.
That's right.
And it is a front to allow any political movement, even the one that I'm in. If we go that route, I gone. It is a front to allow a political party that because they have the reins of government, that they can diminish you as a young professional, diminish you as a public servant,
right.
diminish you as a 10-day worker, diminish you as a member of the Ghana police force, diminish you. Exactly. You allow them to diminish you. And listen, whole strain. Wait on elections day. Wait on September 1. Turn up in the ballot. Put the X next to the palm tree. Next to the palm of the hand. Just like Deborah Braca, nice little sexy X in the box. Don't make sure it doesn't touch the side. You put in 2 X. 1 at the top. General election. Down at the bottom. Regional election. 2 times you put in the X next to the APNU. And when you go out, you find your PPP handler. I say, boss man, all we vote solid by cop. Yeah. You understand me? You tell them anything.
Done. Deal
done. We go solid. You understand me? Because you have been whispering to us, we heard you. Continue to whisper to us, we got you. You understand me? We got you. Just like 2015, 2020, the APNU had not just you, but every single Guyanese across this country. Every single Guyanese in David Granger's office. Anil Nandalal, the current Attorney General, his wife worked with David Granger for the 5 years that he was in office. Granger went into office, found this young lady there. Hi, how are you? Nice to meet you. What is your name? Whatever, Nandalal. Oh, you're Anil Nandalal's wife? Okay, great. Welcome. And that young lady was allowed to work for the 5 years under the APNU government. That is a demonstration of what a government's supposed to do. And that is why in our manifesto, in our documents, we talk about putting people first. Because it's not about party, it's about people and the right for people to self-develop, the right for people to exercise their democratic right to choose who they want, when they want, go where they want, participate with whomever, and don't have to be fair, don't have to have any fear of victimization or discrimination against them. That is what the APNU is about. And as I said to you, you voted for Ganesh Maipal, you voted for self-respect. You're voting for your dignity. You're voting for your children. Because if you, as an adult, who have the opportunity to cast a vote, and you don't ensure that you vote for a political movement that has demonstrated to you in its 5 short years in office, its ability to ensure that every Guyanese feels safe, every Guyanese is comfortable, equitable distribution of the resources of this country. When we went into office in 2015, we didn't enjoy a majority vote from Lethem Region 9. We didn't enjoy a majority vote in Mabaruma or the Matakai sub-region. But while in office, we ensured that one Mabaruma, the first major road infrastructure development, was done under the APNU in a region that didn't vote it for us. We ensured that Mabaruma became a municipality, identifying, let people be able to identify their own leaders, mayor, deputy mayor, and councillors to manage the affairs. We didn't enjoy a majority vote in Port Kaituma in the Matakai sub-region, but we paved road infrastructure in that area, paving the way for commercial banks to now be set up there, that a lot of the young miners, when they come up with their gold and their monies, rather than keeping it in their pocket or under their bed, they had a facility in which they could deposit it. Same goes for Lethem, Region 9. All the years, PV went over 23 years before the APNU got in office. And they, Lethem, we love Lethem and Lethem. And the level Lethem, that's nothing more than a dust mine. You got to Lethem when you're driving, you got to roll up the vehicle because the dust blowing left, right, and center. It was the APNU in office that paved the road infrastructure in Lethem and then made Lethem a municipality that the people there were able to elect their own leaders. The same could be said about Maria. When the PPP used to be going to Maria, are going in the bush. That's what they used to refer to. And they were in office for 23 years. In 23 years, they ain't know for do none of the above. APNU in office from 2015 to 2020 did all of that. And, my friend, without a single dollar, a single cent from the oil and gas industry. Now, if we were able to achieve so much without the oil resources, imagine if the APNU have the opportunity now to do those development that we started without the oil money, if we get the opportunity to do it now. All of those fancy police stations, the APNU built. And when the PPP came in office, they're so ashamed. They don't want to go and cut the ribbon to say, well, you know, this was built on. No, you know what the people do? They just open the place.
And they're commissioning some of them now.
Right.
What an embarrassment.
5 years after.
You know, these people have no shame. And Chris, I want to also touch on the ballot again.
Yeah.
Guyanese must understand, you just spoke about Madio, the corruption and incompetence is on the ballot.
Correct.
Because when we can reflect or sit and reflect on the 20 or 21 children that died in the dormitory fire in Madio, we must go to the polls with vengeance and be able to vote the PPP out.
Exactly.
We must remember every single one of those indigenous boys and girls that died in that fire and vote the People's Progressive Party. We must remember the level of corruption and the Guyana police force aiding and abetting one of the worst ministers in the history of Guyana, Nigel Damlal. We must not forget the allegations leveled against him. And we must be able as Guyanese to see those things on the ballot, not just a piece of paper, but the power that will cause us to see a new transformed Guyana.
Exactly.
Under the coalition. And so when you see that piece of paper, you see Nigel Damlal, you see the People's Progressive Party, you see the corruption, you see the wickedness, and you see and know that you need to put an X next to the coalition so that you can get rid of them. How low of a government can sit to see the police force cover up a crime of a young indigenous girl, and then to say that there was a retraction of a complaint, then go forward to say, I have asked the minister. This is nonsense, it's madness. You forthwith, he should have been fired or sent in administratively so that we can properly investigate. To date, I learned, and you'll see later in the day, that Nigel Damlal is back on the list. If it is so, Guyanese have even more vengeance to go back to the polls. When you can replace a corrupt and incompetent man, wicked man, and take him out and put him back, it speaks volume of what you can condone and what you are prepared to condone in the future. Guyanese must understand, no less of a person than Mayor Thomas, the permanent secretary then at the Ministry of Home Affairs. She, along with Asruddin Mohammed and the Mohammed's family, they were fingered and sanctioned. The PPP today stopped talking about Mayor Thomas and they said the police got to do the work. It means, therefore, that they're covering up what Mayor Thomas would have done, but they know that they can wash in public what the Mohammeds have done, but they haven't been speaking about Mayor Thomas. She too get on the ballot. We must know that we vote, and when we vote, we're voting against all that the atrocities of the People's Progressive Party civic.
Well said, well said. Listen, we are almost about out of program time, but quickly, let me turn your attention to what transpired today as the APNU contingent went down the road and arrived at barriers just before they enter into the Umana. I don't know if the operator have the actual footage, but this was a clear case of provocation. It was a carefully orchestrated plan by the People's Progressive Party Civic to paint the APNU contingent as something other. If you have noticed thus far, and will continue, is that there have been no confrontation, none whatsoever, involving the APNU activists during any of their exercise going forward. Today, while you have thousands of APNU supporters gathered there at the barriers about to take the list of candidates in, four individuals decked in the People's Progressive Party Civic red t-shirts and hat walked up Main Street right into the contingent. And not only that, they were somewhere at the back, they walked all the way right up to the front to the barriers. And while they were there, and we got word that it was a plan, and the person asked me to look up in the air and see if we see a drone. I said, yes, it's Sheriff Duncan's drone. And Sheriff said, no, Chris, me drone and up. I said, yeah, I've seen a drone. The person said that is NCN's drone. And that drone is there to take video and still images of some confrontation with the APNU and the four individuals who walked into the APNU contingent wearing PPP t-shirts and caps. Right away, the music was stopped. I went on this loudspeaker and I called for the Guyana Police Force, the commander, whoever is in charge of that operation out there, to immediately get into the ranks, collect those persons, and escort them out, because it was a clear case of provocation, because the PPP wanted to paint the APNU in a type of way. And the NCN drone, they're right over their head, beaming down. And you had the NCN senior journalists / reporters / candidates of the PPP / independent media operative standing in the corner operating the drone. And we were able to nullify what they attempted to do, but we want to again remind our supporters across this country that the PPP is at their wits' end. And you know, they say when a man drowned in, he got clutch at anything. And that's what's happening with the PPP. The APNU has managed to stay distant from any confrontation. We see big cutlass thing up in Linden, proudly wearing PPP paraphernalia and swinging cutlass and them thing. That is the level that the PPP has descended this nation to. That people are actually wheeling cutlasses at rallies at this day. Vince, you will have the final word.
Yeah, well, Chris, I would just one question I would have asked. What were they doing there? I mean, like, you know, my grandmother used to say, take God out your thoughts.
listen, you know, listen, I know them for so much years. They turn up there for somebody for throw to lash at them, and then the PPP could jump on the program. All the APNU people, there they are. No, you while
in the middle,
while the operator is running that foot. Look, one in front there, the other three there at the midway. This is the front of the barrier. Now, you as a person on your own, you come in to be part of probably your own contingent, and you see a whole sea of green. How you gonna manage to walk through all of them people and come all the way to the front? You looking for something.
Exactly.
And then, as I mentioned before, the NCN drone over the head, waiting.
They were waiting for the confrontation,
yes,
and to have it
yes
on recording and to say the hooligans
exactly
of the coalition.
Exactly.
These are the hooligans.
And on this note, I want to commend the Guyana Police Force for their swift action in getting those persons out of the ranks there. You see the police were accompanying them out all the way down to the back, all the way to the front today.
Yeah,
all the way to the front. They wanted a confrontation.
I must say, yes, the police, the officers on the ground must be commended.
Correct.
Not Clifton Akins and his incompetent cabal.
The officers
that were on the ground, they must be commended.
Correct.
And in any way, Clifton Akins still got to go come 1st of September. But closing words, Guyanese, I want to say to you, we are at a very important crossroad, and it is time that we as Guyanese make this election a priority. We should not see this election as any other election. We must see this election, as we would normally say, the mother of all elections, but we must see this election one that will determine our future. And so because we see it as one that will tell us where our next meal will come from, what circumstances we'll be working under, what level of services we will receive, be it healthcare, education, public service, human service, you name it. You must see this election as that. And so you make the best choice. And the best choice is the only choice, that is the APNU. Excellent. And so I encourage you to vote APNU.
All right, and for those of you who perhaps have missed it, Dr. Terence Campbell, just one of the names, and of course, as the days go forward, we will continue to reveal the other names of candidates. But Dr. Terence Campbell, his name has been officially submitted on the APNU list of candidates. Therefore, Dr. Terence Campbell is a candidate of the APNU, like the attorneys at law, Dexter Todd, Ronald Daniels, young Eden Corbin. You have former Mr. Paul Williams and so forth. The list is extensive. Those persons will be gracing the platform. I want to also remind you that this Sunday, right? No, there's another event that is happening, and I want to get about this Sunday coming. The East Coast of Demerara, your APNU rally is slated for Sunday, 4 p.m. at the Melanie Shopping Plaza in Melanie Village. And of course, it commences at 4 o'clock. You will have the presidential and the prime ministerial candidates who will grace the platform, and you will have some of the candidates who will also be there to make presentation. That starts from 4 p.m. And of course, we extend an invitation to you. So whether you are as far as Mahaica, but particularly, the people from Mahaica would come down because that's where young Rivaldo Birbal, that is his village. Yes. So Mahaica, young Rivaldo Birbal, he's going to be at the rally. So we expect to see you there in Melanie on Sunday. Whether you're from Anns Grove, Golden Grove, Nabakalis, you name it, your rally is going to be had on Sunday, this Sunday coming, 4 p.m. at the Melanie Shopping Plaza. We will ask the operator to close off with the footage out of today's activity in which you saw well, in fact, I don't even want to end it with the PPP activist that was front and center, a part of ours. We will end it with our contingent. Yes, that one is going to be perfect for me. And of course, we will leave you. It is an extensive footage because it shows the gravity, the magnitude of the contingent, and it is 5 minutes and 24 seconds long of footage. On behalf of my colleague, Sherrod Duncan, who's not here with us today, I have my guest here, Mr. Viceroy Jordan. We thank you very much for viewing the APNU elections update. And of course, we will be back, if not this afternoon, tomorrow with another elections update. Until then, here is the contingent from the nominations day today. APNU, putting people first.
All night tonight. Victory! Me here in the bike horn blowing. Me here in the bike horn blowing. Carol! Why me here in them bikes horn? Why me here in the bike horn? Why me here in the bike horn? Me here in the bike horn. The bike horn. Why me here in the car horn? Why I'm not here in that car horn? Why I'm not here in the car horn? I'm here none of these bike horn. The bikes on got horn. The car horn don't work. The car horn don't work.
The APNU coalition campaign now moves to the east coast of Demerara, Melanie Village, on Sunday the 20th of July at the Melanie Shopping Plaza from 4 p.m. Come hear from our candidates. Come hear about our people-centered development strategy that puts people first. Come hear from our prime ministerial candidate, Jurita Fernandez, our presidential candidate, Aubrey C. Norton, and others on Sunday, July 20th from 4 p.m. The Melanie Shopping Plaza will vibrate with a people-powered campaign. APNU, putting people first.
Time to remove the curse.
The APNU coalition campaign now moves to the east coast of Demerara, Melanie Village, on Sunday the 20th of July at the Melanie Shopping Plaza from 4 p.m. Come hear from our candidates. Come hear about our people-centered development strategy that puts people first. Come hear from our prime ministerial candidate, Jurita Fernandez, our presidential candidate, Aubrey C. Norton, and others on Sunday, July 20th from 4 p.m. The Melanie Shopping Plaza will vibrate with a people-powered campaign. APNU, putting people first.